Good evening, everyone. Yana, it's such a pleasure to have you on this show. Let's have the American style. We know each other for a long time. We've been working together for a long time, and it's a great pleasure to have actually a lot of friends on, inviting friends and having a chat. Around the fire or campfire kind of chat. So we typically start with an introduction in two parts, and the first part is like we like to have a bit of fun. So I always ask, like, what's a fun fact about yourself? Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know if this is a fun fact, but I played piano for almost 20 years, and I speak 5 languages. I used to run half marathons.
That was before.
That was before. That was my previous life. Yeah.
Okay, so multi-talented. So now, second step is who are you, and give us a brief about YLT and why YLT is so special.
Yeah, well,
Translations.
first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to your webinar. I've seen you done a lot of episodes with a lot of great people. I think you're doing a fabulous job, and I'm really honored to be here today. And a little bit about myself. So my name is Jana, and I'm the owner of YLT Translations. We are the leading Amazon dedicated translation agency right now. And we have a team of 43 native speakers and other team members who we would not be what we are today. Yeah. So I would like to thank each and one of them for, being incorporated with what we do every day.
And what would you say, because like we work together and we know you do a great job, but what would you say makes you so different or better than other agencies, for example, or translation agencies?
Right. So something which we are very, very special, which makes us more special than others, is that our translators, they actually know everything about Amazon. They know the algorithm, they know the length of the titles and bullets in various categories, and they know what it takes to make a good sales copy in different languages. And that's quite important because everybody can translate, like, from the target to the source, from the source to the target language, and that's fine. But how do you actually make that sales copy show up for that potential buyer of yours? So our translators we have like our internal training that every translator has to go through. And we teach translators how to do Helium 10 research, how to put keywords. We have some strategies that we apply. We work with different Excel formulas that help us find some golden nugget keywords that your competitors are probably not ranked for on page one. So we really have like a full Amazon listing expert on board in our team, and just regular translators. Of course, it's important to have a native translator, but what good it is if you find somebody from Fiverr, where you have amazing translators, but they don't know anything about Amazon. They don't have any keyword placement strategy. They would just translate whatever you give them. And the most important thing is, what I like to emphasize, is we know a lot about localization. And sometimes that's even more important than the translation itself. And that is knowing the target, knowing the audience, and knowing how to adjust certain style for a different marketplace. And that's very, very crucial when wanting to bond with a potential buyer.
And from your 43 like employees, should I say, or
Yeah.
workers, which is the biggest part? Is it German? Would it
Yeah.
be English?
Germany. Yeah. Germany is definitely the biggest, and it's followed by France.
Okay.
Earlier, there was much bigger difference between Germany and France. Like, the German market was absolutely the biggest one out there. But now France, we've got like pretty almost equal amount of inquiries for France as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, usually our clients are US and UK based. So we also do the UK and US translations and copywriting, but like our primer services are from English listings to other languages.
Of course, yeah.
So I would say definitely Germany number one, then France, then we get a lot of Mexico. And then every now and then we get Japanese. The Netherlands has been quite fantastic. Like, ever since like October last year, like we've received inquiries. And at that point, I was just talking to one Dutch seller. Actually, I was in China, and we were just talking about like the Dutch marketplace and what's going to happen if Amazon expands over there. And we were talking about Bol, the Dutch marketplace, and he was just telling me like, and he's an 8-figure seller, so he knows his stuff. And he was like, well, you know, Jana, like I think Bol is like very dominant, and I don't know how much people would be interested in selling it on Amazon. It's kind of a local marketplace and it's going very well. But then like all of a sudden, like we get so many inquiries about the Dutch marketplace, and a lot of people want to sell there. And I just think that it's very interesting for people to be the first one as a seller on a new marketplace. Even though, as you know, PPC hasn't still rolled out, and it's been scheduled for later this year before BC, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. And also we have some inquiries for Poland and for the Czech marketplace. That was also scheduled for later this year, the Polish one for sure. But I think also that was also pushed back to 2021 or God knows.
So do you have insights in the fact that there will be a Polish ams.pl and a Czech one?
It will be. Yeah, the Polish one, I am like 90% have the insight on that for sure that it's going to happen. I just don't know when. It was expected to be rolled out this year, but I don't know. Yeah, COVID. And like it's interesting because like whenever you would register for VAT for pan-European, you would always have to register for Poland and Czech. And that's why I think they're kind of finally rolling out these marketplaces as well. And a lot of people have been, this is just like it's just talking about that, like about Denmark and Sweden, because people have
I heard about Sweden a lot.
But I mean, I don't think it's we could expect anything this year. Definitely. I mean, Prime Day is also pushed back to October, and with all the new regulations, Amazon, and restrictions about Q3 and Q4 product launch, I don't know what else could be new and fresh for all the sellers. But this is definitely something which I've been talking a lot with different people, also like some information from Amazon's webinars as well, I've heard. So, this was something that was expected, and I would really, really want to see what will happen once they enroll the PPC for the Dutch marketplace, because like we really literally had like sellers translate their whole inventory. I'm talking about like 70, 80 ASINs, just like rolling out, and you don't have any keywords for the Dutch marketplace. And whoever tells you like you do have the Dutch marketplace, you don't. The only tool I've seen, because I've been like looking for it everywhere, is called Seller Sprite, but that's a Chinese tool. Chinese sellers use it, but I haven't had any like really good results, honestly.
It's probably too young to have that, because they need to have more data and more researchers to probably give the right keywords. One question is, why do you believe France would be the second? Why do you get so many demands from France? Because I'm surprised, because French Amazon is much smaller than UK or Germany. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't really have an answer to that. Like we don't get, like, for instance, people would always do like Germany and France and skip Spain and Italy. And I mean, Italy is like the smallest one, so you would never get, like, rarely you would get like Italian only, maybe because this is like an Italian seller or somebody who's absolutely sure that has the right product for that marketplace. But like we usually get like a Germany, and they always say like, oh, and if you can also get the French one as well. So, and rarely we would get the combinations Germany and Spain or Germany and something else. But if it is, it's going to be Germany, UK, and France, like definitely in Europe.
Because it's probably the size of the market, like France.
Yeah,
French
market. I think they say like, okay, well, France is not the biggest one out there, but I want to do something else. I think that when people register for pan-European program, and it costs a lot of money, all the VATs and stuff, and I think one of the reasons might be like, hey, I've registered for this, like why not France? Like it's not as small as Italy and Spain, but I'll just give it a go. I just think that people just want to try it out.
Yeah, well, makes sense. So
Might
let's
be, yeah.
first learning of today, and I that's new to me, so great. Thank you for coming. It's
Yeah.
like Amazon Poland is coming soon, and probably Czech Republic, Scandinavia probably as a second step. So that's very interesting. And okay, I'm not sure that's an insight for anyone specifically, but that like there's a lot of demands for France. It's I think probably a lot of people have been covering UK and Germany, and then starting to roll out in the rest of the country. So it makes sense. Now I have a question for you: is like localization is a big topic. How would you approach it? And what are your general tips about localization and trying to reach out to the French customer, to the German customer? What are your general tips on that, and making sure you do? Is there a different approach in talking to different customers, or are your translators trying to have this native touch of how to talk to customers? What's your insight on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, what is a very big mistake, and what I think that the service providers and we, of course, did at the beginning, is that you don't get enough of the information from the client, from the seller, what they want, because localization and the product itself, it really determines, like, the grade of that localization. Because if you're selling kids toys, and if you're selling a travel mug on the German marketplace from the UK or the US market, it's going to have a different approach and different style. You know how everybody says, and it's also what I, of course, agree with, that, Germany is all about like being straightforward, very strict, like tell me the features, don't go like all emotional bullets and stuff like that. I just think
Some
that when
would
you're
say
selling,
bullshit, but
yeah,
we
bullshit, yeah, don't try to push me into buying the product and, like, just forcing me into it. German people, like, they don't like that. And also, like, one of the very important things is that the German marketplace is, from all of the other worldwide marketplaces, is the marketplace that gives out the most refunds. So if the clients, if the buyers, they don't like something what they read, or maybe they kind of understood this like differently and they get something different, they will return this, have to refund them. So that's a fun fact about the German marketplace, and that's why you should be very careful with how you present your product and how you talk to your
in your
audience.
claims, yeah.
Yeah, and claims and stuff like that. So if you're selling like a kid's toy, of course you have to have a little bit of that emotionality in your bullets, but it has to be like with a very, very, you have to be very careful with how you present that. But like if you're selling a travel mug, you can go like full in with only the features, materials, like why is this a good product and how does it solve your problem? This is everything that you should have in your bullets. But you cannot have absolutely the same approach with the toys for kids and a travel mug or remote controller or anything else which might be a more tech gear or something like that. But definitely, like if you would take a US style, which is like super salesly, pushing people into buying product, and present it on the German marketplace, people would not like that. And they'll be like, something is weird here, it doesn't sound right. What is this? Google Translate. Even though if it's not Google Translate, it does not grasp the moment of the audience. Like, what does the audience want? And I just think that's super, super important. And I think if you fail to do that, you have failed to get maximize number of potential buyers on that marketplace. And we've been also doing some translations for Payoneer, the payment service provider, and they came up with a like a English, UK English, which says like humility goes with our customer service or something like that. And there was an absolute faux pas to be translated to the German marketplace, because like humility and humble does not go well with like presenting a professional customer service. So we kind of had to change it to respect, and to kind of sound it more of a, without that kind of that emotional tone and that style, which doesn't really go well with the German marketplace. And I think from all of the European marketplaces, Germany is the most strict one, and it has like really like the most. You have like checklists for the German marketplace, whereas I would say that France, Spain, and Italy, they're not that strict, but none of those marketplaces want that salesly approach and like emotional engaging of the audience. it's quite different than the States and the UK, to say at least. And especially if you're a German seller, you would definitely have to adjust that to other European marketplaces. You cannot just kind of translate that German straightforwardness being super strict and how this product solved my problem for all other European marketplaces. And an interesting thing for the Dutch marketplace is that, I mean, you know, like how the Netherlands are like a very liberal country, starting with drugs and like LGBT like marriages and everything, you know. And so like I've been told, like, because I've been talking to my team to see like what we should focus on or not. And then all of the translators told me that if you have a kid's toy, let's say it's a pink teddy bear, it's really not okay to write that this is a toy for boys or toy for girls. It should be toy for toddlers. So they don't like the keywords, or the keywords are not that in such a high demand that are gender different, and anything which is like for mom or dad, but for parents. So this is what they really want. And it's really interesting because we checked keyword planner after that, and these keywords really have higher search volume than like some of the keywords which are gender related or mom, dad, and stuff like that. So I mean, that's kind of, you know, you would not think of that, but that's actually true.
That's really interesting, especially for some specific products which are gender related. And one question for that is, like, for a translator, say you have the text in English and you want to translate it to German or to, and like you come from a text in English or American English, which is very salesy, let's say. So your translator has to change quite a lot of that, right? So it's far away from only translating. It's also going back to facts if you're really talking to more of a German audience, or going a bit to give some emotions but taking out the salesy pitch for the south of Europe. Is that so? How do you handle that, of like rewriting a bit as much as translating?
Yeah, well, as I said, first of all, like you have to tell the client what you're gonna do, because a lot of clients just go to Google Translate as a quality check control, and they're like, "What is this? This is not my text I gave you, blah blah." So you really have to assure the seller that what are you gonna do. And some of the sellers will say like, "No, I don't want you to change anything. I put my heart and body in this, and like I want it like done this way," and that's fine. But if you ask me, I just think definitely you have to keep like all the important details, all the important features of the product, but you can rewrite the style a little bit. You know, like a German language has like these long compound words. You can express like a sentence with one compound word, but like, you know, Italian and like Spanish, like they have different style of language and expressing themselves. And I just, can you hear me? And I just think, where was I? Yeah, and I just think that rewriting is very interesting for translators. I'm a translator myself, and I just think that by giving creativity and liberty to translators is something that they're going to be thankful for, and they will love doing that even more. Because, you know, like we translators are like so done with like, you know, translating everything word by word, contracts, books, everything. And this gives you you know, a certain degree of creativity. Not all translators have that, but you know, you can always test the translator. Like what my suggestion is, like, to whoever wants to hire any translator in this world, is just like to give a test and tell them like, look, you can be a little bit creative, you can rewrite sentences if that sounds better in your language, and just like, you know, test them. And then, you know, a lot of people have friends and relatives and whatever, and just give them to read this. Just don't tell them it's a translation. Just tell them like, hey, this is a text we've been writing, and just ask them, you know, does it sound good in French or Italian or any other language? And I just think that's very, very important. That doesn't mean that every single listing should be rewritten completely. Sometimes it's absolutely fine to translate it as it is, because it grasps the spirit of the target marketplace. But in a lot of cases, it would need some adjustments, definitely, especially when inserting keywords. That as well. Keywords would probably not be the same on every marketplace. Separately, you would have to do the keyword research separately for each marketplace. And by inserting these keywords, you are rewriting the text. because the keyword is not going to be placed in the same part of the sentence, probably on all languages. Of course, the title is completely different because there's no context, and you just like use it for keywords. But when talking about bullets or product description, probably going to rewrite also on the basis of the keywords that are being inserted.
And that leads me to the question about SEO. And I know like SEO is a great topic because people people have strong opinions about SEO. And there's always a fight for me between like adding keywords and let's say having meaningful content. Like if you have the 70 or like the 80 characters to be in mobile search, for example,
right,
and so on, and you say, okay, like I have the choice between a meaningful word and a keyword which is less meaningful. How's your approach with that? Like I know what I attempt to say, but as translators, what would they work on?
I would definitely, and how we train the translators is that the keywords are number one. You can have as many meaningful words as you want, but nobody's going to find that product. Ideally, you would have both. You would have both keywords and beautifully written listing. But if you really want to try it out, maybe like A/B test it, I would always say that the keywords are number one, and then beautifully written listing is number two. Of course, you should not have like a random like BS in your bullets, but you should definitely focus on the most important keywords. If you don't want to butcher your bullets, if you think they're fantastic, just maximize on the keywords in your title, because you can put like 3 to 5 keywords depending on the product category. I'm talking about like 199 characters. You can put like keywords over there. But when talking about listings in general, I would always say that you should use the highest search volumes in your listing, not of course overstuffing or anything like it, but I just think that you have to have at least 9 or 10 keywords in your title and bullets if this category allows that, not talking about food category or anything which is like super simple, usually also without any keywords.
Great, thank you. I like to ask a
What do
question
you
because
think?
yeah, I'm a bit different, but it's also because we help only brands. We don't have resellers. Like 95% of the people we work with are brands, and brands would be very conscious about how they write. So they would tend to say that they prefer like have meaning over SEO. And like for me, the SEO content is sometimes the way you will rank organically is also thanks to advertising. So if you don't have that keyword or you don't have it in the first place, you could have it in the back end or something like that. And
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
not.
definitely backends are, way to go if you want to put it over there. But according from my experience, like we've been doing this for almost 2 years now. Like we were first not that much focused on keywords. And then when we start focusing more on keywords, I mean, we're trying always to focus, like to have like a really, to send the same message that the client had in one language to another. But we also like put some better keywords, better keyword strategy, and a lot of like really, really great sales happen with a lot of different clients. And I don't know, I would just like put the keywords. And you know what I think, like when you have an A+ content, it really doesn't matter. Like you can put a product description in backend with tons of keywords, but that A+ brand content is going to present your brand and who you are, and all that story telling is going to be in A+, not in your bullets. I think that bullets are there just to visually to show the buyer what your product is capable for, like, with the big caps and like starting with the bullets. And then when they scroll down, they can go to the A+ where they can find out about your brand, like you can send the message and all that branding that the clients want. This is just, my opinion. Yeah.
And great. And one question is, do you have KPIs in looking in how you performed? Like, do you sometimes have this work of afterwards looking at after you did your work, what if it like helped in overall performance? And if yes, what kind of KPI do you use to check you did a good job or that?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we don't go into anybody's seller account. Like we don't upload, we create flat files, but we don't go into anybody's
Mhm.
seller account. We used to do that 2 years ago, but that turned out to be not a good idea because it was like blame it on the translation agency. So I was just like, no, we're not PPC. We don't have to go into anybody's account. So we stopped doing that. But what we do, we follow up with a lot of clients. We ask them like, you know, the performance, we ask them to share the numbers, like if something has increased or decreased. If they're not having a good result, we offer revision. You know, like we always try to see what's working, what's not. And considering we do around like 1,000 listings every month, it's been, you know, like we've got pretty good data from the clients who wanted to share numbers. And usually, you know, like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people who have good results want to share, and people who don't have good results, you won't even hear from them. So, you know, but we have a lot of them who've had good success. I have some like really crazy numbers on our case studies I've recently got. Like, I can also maybe share them here. I don't know if that.
Yeah, well, no, for me, it's like
Yeah.
success is interesting, and I know you're working great, so I'm not surprised you would get those success. I think it's most interesting if like when it's not working, like
Right.
what's your process when content is not like they're not selling, there's no conversion? How do you approach it? Do you have a way, or is it like it's a bit random, or what's your process?
No, it really depends because sometimes it's not just about SEO. Sometimes you have a shitty product, you know, and it's not gonna work. Or maybe your pictures are bad, or maybe your A+ content, like your template is shitty, you know. So it really depends. Like what we do is like what we double check, you know, we double check the keywords. We get this again to a third proofreader to absolutely be sure that we done the job right. And if it still doesn't work, we offer to do a revision, maybe a little bit of rewriting, maybe you know, we change some keywords. Of course, it's very important that people don't change everything immediately. You should just change like one variable at a time. So you can do like a A/B testing with the title only, with the bullets, with the description. You know, like you should never change the whole listing completely. Then we check, you know, like what keywords you're indexed for. You know, like this is what the routine, like the KPIs is like, you know, that we double check, are you indexed for our keywords that we did here? If you are indexed and if everything is okay, then probably maybe your PPC campaigns are running low or something like that. But we usually double check everything if something could be improved in SEO terms. And if not, then there's so many other ways that could potentially harm your listing. That's really ungrateful. And you can never be 100% sure, you know, but I guess you have to just, you know, like SEO or PPC or pictures, it's like all like pieces of a bigger puzzle. So you kind of have to have everything done in order to, you know, just know that everything is working. So.
And yeah, and it's like one of the questions that I sometimes we have to address, and it's going one step above. So it's like, are they addressing in the right way their key customers or they target customers? So we did talk about the cultural thing. So
right.
It's like, do you have sometimes this thing where you say, okay, you're not addressing your right customer or in the right way? Do you have?
Yeah, well, this is also what we have to, I was jump on a call with a client, or my project manager does. And we, because we don't do the audience research, like we don't know exactly who's your target audience. This is one of the things that sellers have to know, like who are you selling your product to? Are those teenagers or business people or seniors? Like, and this is also what really affects the language that you're using as well. So, you know, maybe if you're focused on selling t-shirts with like Mr. and Mrs. and you're focusing maybe, I don't know, seniors, maybe that's not the right choice for you, because that's exactly the situation we had. But the client was selling something like this, and just all the whole German team was like, this is not a product that I would buy. Like, I would never buy something like this. And people were just like, this is not a good market for this product, you know, and this is just what it was. It was nothing
there's
more
nothing
than that.
nothing you can do in that case.
Yeah, sometimes it's like really, I mean, you can do as much, you know, but if you don't have a good fit for your product for the marketplace, it's just not going to work that well, unfortunately.
And one question also is like between all the countries, do you have like funny examples of differences? So you said already like Germans are really fact oriented, like south of Europe is probably more emotional but not very salesy or not
Yeah.
reacting very well to salesy. Do you have any like fun facts in terms of differences between the countries, or things which are you can do or you cannot do or in the
Yeah,
different
like
countries?
I don't think that there are that big differences between Spain and Italy and France in terms of like how this is like this is it. This is something that doesn't work. I've talked to so many different people. I saw you had something presentation on this topic, and I skimmed through it, and I couldn't remember what I read, because I don't think that there are like that specific differences when comparing with the German marketplace. Like what I can tell you is like that there is absolutely big difference between Germany and the rest of them, and probably Dutch marketplace because it's similar mentality up north. But as far as like France, Spain, and Italy, I would not say that there are so many big differences. I don't know if you can probably add something to this.
Well, it's certain that the way you put data and let data, you need to have claims, and the way you give facts in Germany is, and there will be more technical than in the other countries. And selling binoculars, for example, you would look at really technically the details, the exact number of the light transmission and things like that. Whereas in southern country would be more about the design, on how it feels, and so more things which are less tangible, let's say, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
that was the type of example we had with several brands.
Right.
And do you have like when you talk that to brands, how receptive that they are of changing their content, or like evolving their content to different countries? Like generally they're all okay, or is
No,
it?
not really. Unfortunately, not. And you have to talk their way, you have to talk your way through that. A lot of people, they just kind of see translations and just like being one text taken and translated to another language with no difference in nothing. They would even translate the keywords as they are. A lot of people don't understand that, unfortunately, and you just have to kind of win or lose that battle with a client and then be like, okay, like, but this is not what I would suggest, but it's your brand and you can decide. And a lot of people don't actually see how big potential the correctly done translation localization with right keywords has. If you're already selling on a foreign marketplace and you haven't optimized your listing, just imagine how much more you could do once you've done that.
Hmm. Okay, very interesting. And maybe if the audience has some question, they can start to ask a question, and to my next one, which is usually quite funny, is like, do you have example of brands which have completely failed their localization?
Yeah,
Uh,
I have a really cool example with for instance, like everybody knows Kim Kardashian, right? So Kim Kardashian, she was about to launch her shapewear, and she decided to call her shapewear kimono. And then the Japanese government got, it was targeted for the Asian marketplace, and the Japanese government got super upset, and they sent her like an angry letter saying like, oh no you didn't. And it was just like literally like in the nick of time before she launched that, and she had to change this. I mean, this is a disaster which was avoided. So she had to change it to Skims, which is called today. And we discussed earlier, you know, like in the car industry, like a lot of different mistakes. I know one for the Portuguese marketplace. It's a Hyundai Kona. Kona is a Hawaiian island, but Kona means cunt in Portuguese. And so
Interesting.
nobody wanted to drive, you know, that sort of car. And they completely failed. They had to rename the model. They just picked another Hawaiian island. It's called Kauai now. And this is what people drive in Portugal. And that's absolutely horrible. And, you know, Dolce Gabbana with completely wrong video promotional showing Asian person eating pizza with chopsticks. This
I
was supposed to
remember
be
this
their
one. Yeah.
big breakthrough. Yeah, this was just like they lost like billions, you know, and they did. didn't even apologize for that.
And did you have examples in on Amazon specifically, or like customers of yours which would have had like a localization where they really messed up, or before you have them, or examples on Amazon, or and how you can sort of get out of that trap of
There was one client. He was selling a shampoo or some sort of beauty product. He was a UK seller, and then he wanted to launch in Germany. I mean, he launched already, and his product got banned because he didn't check that ingredients in Germany, they were prescription drugs, and they were completely banned. So he was not allowed to say anything like that. But I have like different like examples I've seen on Amazon, you know, like people messing up with you know, localization, trying to be funny, which is not funny. You know, like there was an example of like an Italian listing. It says like a bikini for fat woman. It says like fat, but they wanted to be like, right, they wanted to write like not the plus size, but they wanted to go to chubby, sort of, you know, because like the whole
we know
listing was
chubby,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah, but the whole listing was kind of trying to be funny, but then like they used the word fat, you know, and that was kind of really, you know, not good choice of words. And you know, there was like a lot of different things, you know, how people mix English with like different words. They don't know what like that English word maybe means in French. Like there was like a toy for dogs, like the chewing dog, chewing toy, and then it said like FART, fart, do something, and then you know, like you didn't know it was English or French, and it means like the fart toy. This is how you would read it, because the first part goes in English and the second part goes in French, and like you don't know how their, you know, like what their focus was on. So I mean, a lot of people don't even pay attention to not even translations, let alone localization. You know, like they don't know what the target marketplace offers them, or what is allowed, what's not allowed. They just don't care.
Yeah, so we've got some reaction to the word chubby. Some people are not living well with that name or noun, but that's okay. I had one question specifically on nutriments, and like I know from the law, or like things which are like health products, that
Yeah.
law in different countries is different. Like I know, for example, in Germany, you need to put first what is the most important ingredient, like the ingredient with the most effect on you. Like whereas in France, for example, you need to put the first ingredient with the most quantity. Like if it's sugar, you would have put sugar, and then the second important thing. When you do translation, do you handle that, or do you have to go into understanding what the regulation is, or is that like your customers come with their rules and
No,
regulations?
we really have to talk with the client about that, because there are so many different supplements like every day, and then rules change all the time. And of course, we know about like the non-toxic antibacterial, like, you know, like a lot of, especially now during COVID, I've had to say no to some of the supplements, because we've heard that a lot of them got banned because they got super, super, super strict because of COVID. Even one of the beauty products that we've done says something about when you're taking a bath, that it takes away you feeling uncomfortable down there. And they flag that as like a medical condition. So it's really, really tricky, but we usually ask the client to give us all possible information they have, because like supplements also go into different categories, and you cannot be 100% sure for all of the supplements. Of course, if we've done I don't know, like a C vitamin like 1,000 times, there are also rules that apply C vitamin, but there are like so many supplements, especially nowadays for the whole this pandemic, that, you know, pop up that you've never heard about, and they're not sure what rule should apply to that. So usually like the clients come up with important information, because we really don't want to dig up on something and then, you know, just fail miserably for the new sort of products. So it really depends.
So you would rely on the customer,
Yeah.
and like my feeling that customers from especially the US, they feel they misunderstand, or they have to get, there's a lot of work from them
Oh
to
yeah, that's a lot of work for them. Yeah, because they're just like, do it, and they're like, and by the way, register me for VAT while they were doing that. So they're just gonna really, they're kind of a little bit. They just don't want to deal with those things. It's like a hassle for them. But when working with the European sellers, it's completely different because it's like it's their domestic field, so it's not that big of a problem. But the US supplements could be really tricky to kind of adjust everything for the European marketplace.
Okay. I have a question here. Selling in Canada and starting to sell in Spain, would you create a new listing from scratch and do a whole keyword research, or use the English listing as a starting point?
Well, I think that Canada, you can definitely use an English for the starting point. Of course, a lot of people do French.
I think he's moving from Canada to Spain. So it would be
Oh,
from
okay.
the English to the
Oh,
Spanish.
okay. To Spain. Okay. Well, I mean, I would do the Spanish one. Like, I don't think the Spanish people do use a lot of English, honestly. But if you want to something as like to just start selling over there, I don't know what the product is. Like maybe if it's something which is quite popular that people are used to like typing and searching for in English, then it's fine. But maybe if it's something which is more specific and needs to be a little bit, like translated, localized, I wouldn't think it's a good idea, because once you enter the Spanish marketplace, if you have that, famous honeymoon period, and you're just gonna blow it by being there and indexing for English keywords. So my suggestion is to do a little bit of the competitor search on the Spanish marketplace, see what they're doing. If English keywords are acceptable, and probably a lot of them are using English keywords, then go for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's a good idea.
Yeah. So two things on that is, one, you would check English keywords in every marketplaces. Do you do that also?
Yeah,
Checking
we do
like,
that as well. Yeah, because sometimes, even though maybe it sounds weird to put it in listing and front end, but as we discussed, like you can always put it in back end, definitely.
okay. I
It
think
really yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think the question was more about, we should translate it into Spanish, but do you think it's better to start from the English, like the English content, and translate it, or start from scratch, like talk to not doing
Copywriter. Oh, okay.
translation and doing a Spanish copywriting? What's your guess on that?
Well, I think that every text can be rewritten, honestly. And I just think that if your English listing is good and has all the crucial information, I think you can take the best out of it and put it on Spanish marketplace. I definitely think it needs some little bit of a rewriting, definitely. But I don't think you need to write something completely from scratch. I think that the listing you already have, if it's a good listing, then you can take all the important key information from there and just adjust them a little bit. So I would call that also translation, not copywriting.
And because generally copywriting will be more expensive than translation, right?
They will be twice more expensive. So if you want to save some money, I would say the translations, but you just have to explain to a person who's going to do that you need rewriting and adjusting a little bit, blah, blah, but it's still going to be translation.
Great. Thanks for the insight. So I think we're coming slowly to the end. So if anybody else got a question, you're welcome. So to reach out to you, so the website is ylt-translations.com, right?
.com. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the best way to reach out to you. You're on Facebook, also LinkedIn,
yeah,
every possible social media.
Yeah. Like you should like our Facebook page, YLT Translations, because I've just started recording some video tips, and we have a fun fact Thursday, and everything is about international marketplaces and localization and stuff like that. And I think we give some pretty useful info for sellers. So like our page, if you guys need any other advice, or maybe you have any questions, or if you want a free listing analysis, we'll be happy to help you. You can just send us an email at info@ylt-translations.com, and we would be happy to help you.
Great. I have another question before
Mhm.
you leave us. By rule of thumb, is there a sweet spot of how much text we should include across our listings? Titles, bullet points, product description. I've seen some listings that fill up the entire allotment Amazon gives, but looks like a lot of text. Or is this worse, considering it gives you more opportunity to include further details? So that's already a long question.
Okay,
So
so from what I know, a lot of sellers think it hasn't been confirmed with 100%, but a lot of people say that first 1,000 characters get indexed, and this is what a lot of people like to believe in, and they put in their listings. A lot of people have A/B tested this, but nobody has 100%, proved this. Also,
So
like
you
when you
say a
have
thousand characters in total when you take titles, bullet
title,
points
bullets, and product description.
is a
Yeah.
thousand characters, which we assume is only taken account of for SEO.
Yes, for SEO, exactly. So like, and my overall advice is like never to write a novel in your bullets. I know a lot of people want to maximize on that 499 characters, but I really don't think that's necessary. I just think it's better to have like a visually clean and nicely looking bullet with like caps at the beginning, where you put like the, a feature you want to emphasize in that bullet, then write like maybe two and a half sentences, so you get like 2-3 lines possibly, and then just like have like the 5 bullets, and then you can go on and on about it in your A+ content. If you don't have an A+ content, then just do it in your description. But I would focus on the best keywords definitely in the title and the bullets, because that's what shows up also on the mobile app. The description comes before the bullets. So just put something also which is good at top of your product description, in case that your bullets maybe go to like 700 characters and you have like 300 characters more. And I would also suggest, like, even if you have like the A+ content, you should always have some good keywords in your product description in backend. So what I would suggest is that if you want to try, like, that you should also, A/B test it and see like how well the 1,000 characters would work for you. But I would definitely suggest not maximizing on anything in the bullets. I think that's just too much text, honestly. A lot of sellers really want to do it. As I said, they're like, no, I want it as it is. But my experience is that it works better when it's a little bit shorter. I'm sure you can say everything in those 3 lines per bullet.
Shorter is better. I totally
Yeah.
agree. And the interesting thing you were saying is that, especially for when you're doing A+ pages or EBC, is that if you have a long description or product description, you're juggling again. The product description gets hidden by A+ pages, but it still gets indexed. So
Yes,
you're right.
yeah,
It makes a lot of
definitely.
sense.
That definitely, yeah. And we still have some, we just recently had some sellers that just wanted to get only keywords in product description, like only that. I haven't seen that lately, ever since I stopped seeing like all these like keyword stuffing in listings, but obviously people still think that that would work. So we'll see what happens with that find.
Yeah, I haven't. So keep the other earbud for a second. I've got another question.
Okay.
Any other go-to tools or softwares besides Helium 10 for keyword research?
We like to use the AMZ suggestion expander. That's a really cool, it's an add-on for Chrome, and it's free. And what's really cool with that is that, for instance, let's say you're launching a product and you're first with this product on the new marketplace, and Helium 10, Sonar, all Zone tools, like all these tools, they extract the information from your competitors, and you don't have competitors here, so you're not going to get any good data. Or if you have few competitors only. But this tool kind of suggests the keywords, like let's say you're selling this travel mug I've been mentioning. So you put just like a travel mug, and then in the search field of Amazon. And then with this tool, like if you put travel mug, you're gonna get like a drop down menu with the suggestions of the keywords that can come before this word and after this keyword. So sometimes it's really good to combine the results you get from the tool and AMZ. You're not going to get search volume information or any numbers, but you're going to often get some really, really good keyword ideas that way.
And so you said the name was AMZ?
Yeah, I'm going to type it here.
Yeah,
AMZ
great.
suggestion expander.
Great. very good. That's great insight. There's another one called Merchant Words.
Merchant Words.
Do you use
Yeah,
also
but
Merchant Words?
no, we stopped using that like 2 years ago. It was just not that good. Merchant Words was fine, but Helium 10 is just much better.
Okay. And like Jungle Scout, like it seems that a lot of people were talking about Jungle Scouts and Jungle Scout, and now it's like everybody's talking about Helium 10 more.
You know why? Because first of all, like we used to use Jungle Scout in the beginning. Also, about like a year and a half ago, we stopped using it. First of all, because it's crazy expensive. It's like 400 bucks per month just to find your competitors, so see how much the revenue and whatever not. But now Helium 10 has like really stepped up their game, and you can totally see that when doing the reverse ASIN. If you put like the ASIN you want to look up, or even your ASIN, when you click on get competitors, you really get some really, really good competitors. Like we check that every time on Amazon to see if the competitors from Helium 10 are good enough, and they are. So you don't actually have to spend money on Jungle Scout, and Jungle Scout was never actually for keywords. It was more for competitor lookup and to check their revenue and their sales. So, and I don't know a lot of people who still using Jungle Scout.
Yeah, okay. I know they've developed also tools which are much more developed to get more insight into other account sales.
Yeah,
So
you have
maybe
so
they're
many different
reinventing
tools.
themselves.
Yeah. They also had this, the reinventing themselves. They have like 15 different tools. They have like this really cool tool about marketplace research. That's really cool to see like how well your product will do on French marketplace, for instance. They have so many amazing tools. So I think that they're like seriously like number one tool. Like there is nobody else as Helium 10, at least from my experience and from sellers we've been talking to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
it
this is
sounds
not a
like,
paid commercial. It's really what I think.
yeah, we'll investigate on that. Where's your paid link? So anyway, Jana, great to have you here. I think we tried to keep it in 45 minutes. We never achieve it. So that's like how it is. It's like because it's great to have you and it's a lot of fun. I hope we'll be able to meet soon on a real conference with real people and
Hope to
hopefully
God.
without masks, but it sounds like it's going to go on a bit. So we'll be patient. Thank you again. Have a great evening. Thanks to everyone who joined. And yeah, we'll see you around and we'll follow you on Facebook for sure. So
Thank
thank
you
you very
so
much,
much.
Jenna.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Bye,
evening.
guys.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.